What you're seeing is signs on a truck outside Denver's convention center, advertising the vendors at KushCon, which occurred December 17th through 19th. 300,000 square feet, 450 vendors and speakers from all around the world. And here to introduce the keynote speaker is Mason Tavert of Colorado's group SAFER.
We welcome Governor Gary Johnson.
Wow, I get to kick this off, which I think is just fantastic, really. I think it's fantastic that leaders, activists from all over the world have come to this event, KushCon, making it the largest event of its kind in the history of the planet, which is really significant. I've got to tell you, I advocate legalizing marijuana. Control it, regulate it, tax it. I think that 90% of the drug problem is prohibition-related, not use-related, and that's not to discount the problems with use and abuse, but that ought to be the focus. And when you talk about legalizing marijuana, I think it's important to point out it's never going to be legal to smoke pot, become impaired, get behind the wheel of a car, or do harm to others. It's never going to be legal for kids to smoke pot or to buy pot. And under which scenario is it going to be easier for kids to buy pot? The condition that exists today, where not only can you buy pot virtually anywhere, but in a situation today where also harder drugs are made available simply because the person that sells marijuana also sells other drugs. Take that away, have to produce an ID to be able to go and buy marijuana. I think you can make the case that a lot fewer kids would be using marijuana. And is that really the concern anyway? Isn't the real concern about death, disease, crime, corruption, the things that we really care about? When it comes to all the other drugs, I advocate harm reduction strategies, which is just that, the notion of reducing death, disease, crime, corruption, the things that we really care about. In a nutshell, looking at the drug problem as a health issue rather than a criminal justice issue. I have to tell you that I have been traveling the country over the last year. I am a Republican, reaching out to Republican groups all around the country, looking to expand the base of the Republican Party to recognize what this issue is and what it represents. And what it represents from a dollars and cents standpoint is that half of what we spend on law enforcement, the courts, and the prisons is drug-related. This is huge, $70 billion a year. And what are we getting for that $70 billion a year? We're arresting 1.8 million people. I always point out that is the population of New Mexico that gets arrested in this country every single year. And with those arrests go the fact that there are now 2.3 million people behind bars in this country. We have the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world. The majority of those 2.3 million people behind bars are there because they've sold drugs. And arguably, not arguably, non-violent crime are they behind bars. I estimate there are 30 million Americans that, but for our drug laws, would otherwise be tax-paying, law-abiding citizens. So we're at a tipping point in this country, and that tipping point is actually 2 years away. Right now, 46% of Americans support legalizing marijuana. This is really significant, and it's a great issue when brought to the light of day, and hence kudos to the Kush Conference, because what this is going to do is it's going to continue to increase the awareness around this issue. When Proposition 19 came up for a vote this last fall, it came right down on the national average when it came to the vote, but the issue was put on the dinner table as a topic of discussion for millions of American families that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And again, this is an issue, when light's shown on this issue advances. That 46% that supports legalizing marijuana, depending on how the wind blows, they don't don't move to 45 or 44 or 42 tomorrow. It's moving forward, and it's been moving forward, again, 2 years away from that. I really want to applaud all of you for your activism in this area. If there's one single thing that we can do in this country to improve our quality of life, it would be to legalize marijuana. Imagine police tomorrow going out and enforcing real crime as opposed to going out and catching people selling small amounts of drugs, and they do a really good job of that. Imagine right now any of you going back to your car and having it burglarized while you're here in this conference. Number one, would you call the police? The only reason you'd call the police is for an insurance report. That's the only reason. But in a scenario where marijuana was legal, the only reason they'd come out and just make a police report is because they don't have the resources to go out and enforce the crime against, enforce laws against real crime. And again, real crime is the burglarization of our homes and what have you. And what's the root cause of burglarization of the home? Well, perhaps it's somebody who has to pay for drugs. Anyway, legalize marijuana, adopt rational drug policy regarding all other drugs, and law enforcement, again, concentrates on real crime committed against you and I. This will make a huge difference in the quality of life for all of us. And again, I just applaud you on your activism. Keep it up. We are 2 years away from this happening, but it's the final stretch, and more than ever, it's a need to go out and engage in conversation, discussion, debate with people that don't understand this issue. Thank you very much.